It's a brand new edition of NFL Game Day Preview. Jaden Daniels, you see him throwing there. He could be your offensive rookie of the year. It's a contested race, but a win and a big performance today against a division rival could cement his case. Not to mention the Lions. Dan Campbell said no one is going to write our story. He's right. Can Jared Goff, though, help his team overcome massive injuries? The answer to that is coming up next.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Ho, ho, hoing. What do you think of Christmas?
Let's go! We're going to take care of it tonight. For the first place to the last. We're going to do it.
The beast has been released.
Justin Jefferson to the end zone.
That's a Christmas gift right there.
Oh, my goodness.
Down the sideline.
No, coming down a little harder now.
Wishing you, but wishing you were very nice.
Give up the dough, give up the dough, give up the dough on Christmas, yo. Give up the dough, give up the dough, give up the dough. Here we go, here we go.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Give up the dough, give up the dough.
How about a new open for the start of the show? I would take it.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, you might be thinking, hey, this is going to be all the Rams. Well, I'll tell you what. Rodgers, he's won the last 4 games against Stafford, whether it's a Lions or a Rams uniform. You can see a little bit of a tough guy there. He's not in SoCal. No. This is my home state, New Jersey. It is going to be a little bit cold for this Rams squad. Welcome to a brand new edition of NFL Game Day Preview. Mike Yam, my friend Steve Weich, and Cynthia Freeland with us. There's nothing better than technology, right? Like I can watch some NFL games, split screen it, get some college action. Yesterday was pretty awesome, and we're gonna have a big NFL game today. Oh, look at you smiling. You love it.
I love like when the overlaps between college and because it kind of it's like the perfect. It's like if your NFL team maybe isn't in it anymore, then you can start looking ahead to who you could draft. So it's the perfect time of year for that.
Absolutely.
I like how she didn't look me in the eyes when she said when your NFL team is out of it, you're looking forward to the draft.
Oh, your team that's going to be drafting top five?
We'll figure out a way to hold on to that number 1 pick. But as I made reference to, we had some Saturday NFL football. I candidly wasn't sure about this dude's status. Apparently, he really is Superman.
Allegedly, he had an ankle injury.
Right.
And then, what did we see him do? Oh, a rushing touchdown, because why not, Look, but ultimately my takeaway from this game is that the Chiefs bought themselves some insurance. Now they have flexibility with the games left. We've been hearing a lot. 3 games, 11 days. I don't know if you've heard it somewhere. Stop me if you've heard this one somewhere before. But ultimately, now you have the opportunity to strategically leverage the sports science people who have been awesome with Patrick Mahomes about that ankle injury. It's bad, but
that was tough to watch.
The Tank Dell injury, and you saw Houston was not the same after, especially C.J. Stroud.
No.
He gets carted off.
But he's okay, Tank.
Tank Dell, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, look, by the way, Ian
Better than it
Rappaport.
looks, at least.
Rappaport will give us the official update coming up in just a couple minutes here. Xavier Worthy, 8th scrimmage touchdown, most by a rookie on a defending Super Bowl championship squad. That expression from C.J. Stroud explains it all. This had a little bit of that AFC North, old school, blue collar matchup. This was fun. And look, guys like Russ taking off, running here. You just talk about big time hits. This game was littered with them.
And that, Russ got a taste of it, right? You didn't see him try to plow guys over. Typically, he slides. He fumbles right there. The Ravens come back and answer. And the one thing I took away from this game, we're seeing Lamar throw it, but it was the Ravens' defense. Yeah. Much maligned defense all season long. The past few weeks has been better. And here's a pick 6 by Marlon Humphrey, who's had an up and down year, but he's played very well of late. Kyle Van Noy, the seasoned veteran, got 10 and a half sacks.
Just that many.
All through, their defense showed. Remember, a couple weeks ago, they held the Steelers to 6 field goals in a loss. Here they show up. They get the takeaways. And if their defense continues to play like this, they've got a shot now to get past Pittsburgh and win the AFC North.
Did you hear the shout out to my volleyball coach, Dean Pease's wife? They're like, Dean came back, he brought his wife. I'm like, heck yeah, Melody, she got it.
And Dean has helped Zach Orr get that defense
has really
right.
Helped.
You can see the Steelers right now in position tied with the Baltimore Ravens in the division. And now they have officially split because both of those teams winning their home games. So there's still an opportunity here for the Ravens to find a way to win the AFC North, which a week ago, look, they needed this one, and they got this one. You guys both give us those major takeaways here as we were rolling through those highlights. The one thing that I think stood out, and you and I talked about this before the show, both the Chiefs and the Ravens, they played some clean football games, generally speaking.
They're most complete games. I mean, you think about the Ravens, even special teams, how they saved the punt from going into the end zone. They pin the Steelers back. Kansas City just across the board. 2 weeks ago, they went into a Browns game with 10 total takeaways. In the past 2 games, they've got 8. So Trent McDuffie, the corner, gets his second career interception.
You were at the game for the first one.
Yeah, in Cleveland, which was a stunning stat to me. But Cynthia, again, when I look at how both those two teams played, as complete as they played, at this point of the season, that's why they're frightening. You don't want to be a good team and a hot team right now.
Yeah, and you're up into the right trajectory for the Ravens. It's just the right timing, everything coming together right when it is. But, in addition to when you talk about the Chiefs and you talk about, Patrick Mahomes looking good, I still think that we're going to have to figure out what goes on with their left tackle because DJ Humphries wasn't playing yesterday. And now you have an opportunity to 2 games likely. So right now it's technically 3 games ahead of the Bills because the Bills haven't played yet. Bills get the Patriots. They're 2 touchdown favorites. So let's just pretend that the Bills win in this one. You do now have an opportunity to try a few things out along that O-line. Now you got TJ Watt coming in and you're going to have to deal with Pittsburgh and TJ Watt. So it's not going to be good.
No, Joe Tooney, I disagree. Joe Tooney held Myles Garrett without a sack in his first start moving from guard to left tackle. He kept Danielle Hunter off of Patrick Mahomes. Here you see him at left tackle right here. He was great the last 2 games.
Okay, but what about the middle of that Steelers defense? Because if you think about the way that the Texans do it on the edge, right? So now you got the Steelers, you got Cam coming in the middle. I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is still not, they have some time to work it out.
Yes.
Because I don't think that, I don't think it's going to remain looking the same way it looked in this last game. That was a very, very great showing from the O-line, but there's been a lot of dicey ones prior to that.
I salute Joe Tooney playing that left tackle.
Hey,
yes, getting
Joe
him back
Tooney's
inside,
awesome, but
getting
let's
him back
get back to the guards. He's better off there.
Makes it better.
We will find out, by the way, if they are able to pass that test, as Steve Weich is one of our guys that's going global. Here we go.
Are you going to be outside again?
I'll be on the sidelines in a dome.
In the dome.
Oh,
like that helmet in the Globe.
Okay, I was
Me
about to
and
say,
Beyonce.
if they're sending you to Pittsburgh, I need to talk to someone over there at Netflix because my man needs to be inside. What are you talking about? We are Californians now. We do not need to be in this weather. I'm glad you're inside.
Just to be clear, Steve will be Ravens at Texans in Houston.
In a dome.
4:30
Just
Eastern
making
time.
sure.
Climate controlled.
Listen, I'm fighting for you, my friend.
Thank you, Cynthia.
So we got Christmas gifts and we got some football.
Jalen Hurts is someone who does not rattle.
Daniels is the clear front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Saquon Barkley should be the MVP of the National Football League.
How do you jump over a guy backwards? He did.
Touchdown, Scary Terry!
Touchdown, A.J. Brown!
With the game on the line, here comes the Hail Mary.
Caught! It's a miracle!
Hey! Ernest, no!
Holy cow! That was incredible.
Oh, we got a divisional matchup. A.J. Brown getting ready. Big time performance from him a week ago. The Eagles an opportunity to clinch the division. Our Cam Wolf has more.
Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson told me this year feels like 2017, the year they won the Super Bowl. And so they can clinch the NFC East with the win today, but their goals are much bigger. Not even Saquon Barkley chasing Eric Dickerson's rushing record is taking their mind off their Super Bowl goal. And they're going to do it their way, whether it's running the ball with Saquon Barkley or getting the ball to A.J. Brown down the field. Meanwhile, the Commanders, their head coach Dan Quinn told me about an hour ago, we have to show that we can swing with the heavy hitters. That's their message for this game. They haven't beat a team with a winning record, and they don't want the Eagles to clinch here on their home field.
Cam, to be more specific, 0-4 against teams currently with a winning record. Meanwhile, the path for the Eagles, pretty easy. It's nice when you control your own fate. Just win on the road today, and you will clinch the division. Commanders still in the thick of things here in a big way, taking a closer look at their path to the postseason. They can clinch a playoff berth with a win, but they need a little bit of help with a Falcons loss plus a Rams or Seahawks loss. So I think the fans down in the D.C. area will be doing a little bit of scoreboard watching. This Eagles team has been dominant. You can make a case, especially because of the Lions' injuries. Maybe the Eagles are the best team in the NFL, and yet there's one guy who maybe it's fallen back a little bit in the MVP conversation in that race. But Saquon Barkley got an opportunity to ball out because we've already seen it on display against this team.
And exactly, because Saquon leapt to the top of that MVP list a couple weeks ago when these two teams played, when he rushed for 140 of his 228 yards in the second half against Washington. And that's what I'm watching today, because Philadelphia is like a true playoff team where they can grind teams down throughout 4 quarters and then just pour it on late because of Saquon Barkley. But in this game, remember, Washington inside linebacker Frankie Luvo, they were having to use him a lot on the edge for pressures and in coverages. So he got schemed out of the middle. I don't think that's going to happen as much today because he is a vital player who they're going to need to clog up the middle, and Saquon Barkley is going to be helped because Marshawn Lattimore is back to probably put the clamps down on A.J. Brown, who we saw leading into this piece.
Well, and no, Jonathan Allen means a great opportunity still to be able to run. I'm looking at the other side, though, and everything you said, I agree with all of it, which means that's a great opportunity for Washington to show this offense is not, number one, they don't have this, like, Cliff Kingsbury in the second half of the year slump, right? This is the way to prove that this is not potentially, you know, your fate, right? It's maybe something he left in the past. I also think if you're looking at the highest quarterback to wide receiver, there it is, Terry McLaurin from Jaden Daniels. So it's just the highest passer rating in the NFL, 139. It's a pretty big number. But ultimately, we kind of overlook that. People we talk about in this game, we think about A.J. Brown, you think about how Devontae Smith, but Scary Terry's been a massive factor this year as well. And I know Zach Ertz is not going to be there, but Zach Ertz was helpful too, meaning that they do have some things at that linebacker level, some options at the linebacker level, which is, if there was one area of the Eagles defense to potentially target, that is probably where it is. Not to say that I'd want to target any of this. The Eagles defense is great. So I'm just saying this is an opportunity for Washington to really show us that they're not just, you know, having this rookie quarterback with an awesome beginning to the season, but a real contender here in the postseason.
And real quick on McLaurin, one thing you notice about him is he's one of the most brilliant wide receivers on the scramble drill. On the scramble drill, when things break down, he finds ways to get open, and that's where him and Jaden Daniels have a great connection.
You know, there were some question marks about the relationship, not personal relationship, but those guys on the field together at the start of the year. Took a couple weeks for this thing to get going, but once it did, it was like a freight train, and boom, takes off in such a meaningful way. Commanders and Eagles, still some playoff implications on the line. Not the only matchup that's catching our eye.
Caught by Justin Jefferson. Gino, touchdown!
It's a celebration. Get ready for action. It's for the taking. Legend in the making.
Best door in the league, man. Holy catfish! Go time!
Still not exactly sure what to make of the Seattle Seahawks, who are certainly in the hunt with that 8-6 record. Haven't won the NFC West since 2020. Felt like they might actually take the division. Right now, a little bit of an uphill climb for them. In Minnesota, we don't talk nearly enough about a 12-2 squad. Time for Road Warriors. It is presented by Courtyard Marriott. This is a sneaky good game, at least in my mind. I mentioned not loving up this Vikings team nearly enough. I know everyone's talking about Sam Darnold and what this offense can do defensively, though, especially against the run. You've been impressed.
I mean, who doesn't love a sexy run defense? I mean, the answer is every defensive coordinator would love that. And if you look at what these Vikings do really well, in fact, better than anyone else in the league, they get up in your business, meaning they're stopping you at or behind the line of your own scrimmage the most often. So they're not even letting a running back run. You can't even get up to full speed.
Right.
It's really hard to break a tackle if you're not even at full speed, right? Like, think about it. You're going slower, easy to stop you, momentum, like the actual definition of momentum, like the physics one. But ultimately here, that's something we don't talk enough about. We always talk about the blitz. I get it. I'm guilty of it too. Brian Flores, he loves the blitz. Don't know if you've heard that one anywhere.
No, not at all.
But you know, this is a team that's exceptional at stopping that.
Remember, momentum, not inertia. They are two different things.
That's
How
right.
about that?
Someone was paying attention back in elementary school. I like it.
But, I mean, look, this to me is a big chance for Seattle. We talked about we don't know what they are. They've got one win against a team with a winning record, and that came in the season opener against the Denver Broncos. But this is where their defensive line, I think, can put some pressure on Sam Darnold. And Darnold's been pretty good. You know, if you want to make him throw it 40 times a game by stopping the run, He's been pretty good throwing it 40 times a game. We've seen that the past few weeks. So, but they've got to create some pressure on him so he can put some balls up there for that secondary to go ahead and make a play.
Are you coming around on my guy Darnold a little bit?
Darnold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I
I'm
just want
coming around. Look, he's shown. Like, I mean, even the last game he wasn't great, but he was good enough, and he's got the explosive playmakers that can help him out.
Hey, yeah, guess
I'm not
what?
a Darnold hater. What do you?
I'm not a hater, but look, I think the reality is, and you and I have been working together a lot all season long. I think you question, like many, is the other shoe gonna fall off?
Is the trapdoor gonna fall?
Yeah.
But no, he's good.
He's balling.
We're good. He's making himself some money now.
Hey, guys, guess what? I guarantee a former Jets quarterback gets a win in this game.
Oh, hey. Wow, rim shot.
One of them will. Once again, looking forward to this matchup, especially from a Seattle perspective. Want to know more about this team. How about Michael Penix? You know, there's some
He looks
guys.
ready.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
not at Costco anymore.
Ken Griffey Jr. back in the day, like I would pay to go and watch him swing. Michael Penix, I would pay to watch him throw.
I love that.
I just love that he was at Costco when he found out.
How cool is that?
That's hilarious.
Jumbo pack of candy. I know the hot dogs
Why
are
not?
good there. I'm with. Back here on Game Day Preview, these dudes just look different. What's this? Not like us?
I'm glad he's
Why,
playing.
Mike? Because it's freezing and he's shirtless?
Well, there's that aspect
Chief?
of
He's
it too.
built different.
Yeah, David Njoku. By the way,
By the way, he's playing. So
He is
your
playing,
fantasy managers, hurry up. I understand it's a new quarterback, but you not have a lot of options at tight end.
To be clear, if he wasn't playing and he was out there without a shirt on,
Be
and
hilarious.
it would be absolutely hysterical. He has been dealing with that hamstring injury. You can see he is active today for what it's worth. Quinnen Williams, an absolute monster. More on him from Mike Garafolo coming up in just a bit, but inactive today because of the hamstring injury. For a little more context on what is happening around the NFL, no one better to talk to than our NFL Network insider, Ian Rappaport. Ian, good to see you as always. I think about, we started the show at the top with what transpired yesterday. Tank Dell, injury looked absolutely gruesome. Give me the latest on his condition.
Yeah, frustrating situation for Tank Dell, really one of the better young receivers, one of the better deep threats in the NFL. Had an acrobatic touchdown catch for the Houston Texans and due to some friendly fire, went down quickly with what appears to be a serious and significant knee injury. My understanding is it is a dislocated kneecap for Tank Dell, which is why teammates right away said, don't move, because if you bend your knee and your kneecap is dislocated, it can create an even worse injury. He was quickly transported to a level 1 trauma center just to make sure he gets as good a care as possible, mostly as a precaution, but that's where he was transported. Stayed the night in Kansas City. Has not had surgery yet to my knowledge, but surgery is possible for Tank Dell. Either way, he is expected to be out indefinitely, a significant blow for the Texans.
Yeah, you can see the emotion on C.J. Stroud's face. You know, we think and we watch these games, and they're just sort of athletes to a lot of fans out there, but you can see the connection and the human element between those two teammates. Meanwhile, Josh Allen, kind of been in pole position the last couple weeks in that MVP race. Apparently, he can add a little cherry on top considering what he's been dealing with most of the season.
Yeah, as if Josh Allen's season wasn't impressive enough, here's my understanding of what has transpired during his MVP caliber season. No doubt the best season he's had in his career, and something that's transported a team that a lot of people thought was just kind of a transition year to really the top of the AFC. In week 1, leaping for a touchdown against the Arizona Cardinals, he came down hard on his left hand. My understanding is suffered a fracture. So he has a fractured left hand and has had it since week 1. It was on the injury report every week. He was listed as a full participant. Now he's taking snaps under center at a lower clip than he ever has in his career, but he has made it happen. He has continued to run some, maybe not as much, but run some, and of course has been as productive as he ever has. Josh Allen has played most of the season with a fractured hand, which of course just adds to the lure for the Buffalo Bills.
Ian, I know you made reference to it, maybe not statistically running the same. We just showed some of those highlights. This dude's running like he's 100% fine when he's out on the football field. Reckless abandon in a lot of ways, and it does make the case, add to the case for that MVP award. Ian, you're the best man. Always appreciate your insight on all things happening around the league. Meanwhile, we continue to focus in on some other matchups, including the Rams on the road against the Jets. Kyren Williams, 4th in the league in rushing yards, over 1,100. Mike Garafolo has more.
Thanks, Mike. Here at MetLife Stadium, the news for the Jets, not great. All-Pro defensive tackle Quinnen Williams is inactive. He was listed as questionable after not practicing with a hamstring injury this past week. He did a pregame workout. I thought it looked okay, but in the end they decided to play the cautious route with their key defender. So for the Rams, that's great news because Kyren Williams and this running game, as I talked to Sean McVay about it on Saturday, he said they are built to play in this weather, even though they are a SoCal team. That running game does travel. 29 carries in each of the past 2 games for Williams. So I would expect something in that general realm there for them as they try to handle this weather. They believe they're going to be able to do so, Mike.
Mike, it's time for Who's Eating Good, presented by Applebee's, which we'll get to in just a minute there, as I messed up and we're looking at the NFC playoff picture, and the Rams certainly got a great opportunity. According to Next Gen Stats, a 54% chance to make the playoffs, a 53% chance to win the division. Now it's time for Who's Eating Good, presented by Applebee's. Not sure if it just means I am hungry or just excited.
I'm
to
hungry.
hear
You got 2 scoops of Applebee's.
I'm hungry.
Well done.
First of all, and I say this all, I make more references to my high A1C number than anyone. There's no 2 scoops anymore of anything, unfortunately. Rams and Jets here. The stark contrast to Mike Garafolo, winter cap on, snug winter coat, because it's cold in New Jersey, and guys, no shirts.
Well, those were Rams players too.
Yeah, right. Come on, man.
It was a Rams player.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
I'm just
They're
saying.
getting ready.
I don't get it.
I've done the transition. You feel it when you go back to the East Coast. Now that
Maybe
I'm
they
in
think it's like a cold
California.
plunge. It's good for them.
Okay. Want no part of that either. Puka Nacua, why is he eating?
Well,
Good.
Well, in many ways, it's because of the opportunity against the Jets defense. I know that last week we didn't see any Rams get into the end zone. That's going to change in this one. I think you're going to see Puka Nacua being used in many ways. We see Puka Nacua, meaning he's going to be in the slot, he's going to be catching deep balls, and I don't even know if he's going to get this tight of coverage. Do you? I don't think so. It was maybe like a couple steps average. But I think when I'm looking at Puka Nacua today, I would expect a massive game. I don't think the weather, it's kind of a fun talking point, but they have figured this out. I know that this is something where last year they're like, oh, last year, this is where their loss was. I'm not worried about it because of guys like Puka Nacua with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's played outside for forever, so don't worry about him.
And I think the tight end Tyler Higbee is active too, so that's something that's going to have to be occupied by the Jets defense. I'm going to flip it to the other side of the ball for the Rams. Kobe Turner, the defensive tackle, is going to be eating good. If you've been watching him lately, I'm going to say he's on a disruption heater. He had 2 sacks against the 49ers, but look what he is doing to the interior of the defensive line.
Boop.
With so much attention now being paid to Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and Byron Young, the guys playing next to him. People forget this was a number 2 Defensive Rookie of the Year nominee last year. This was the guy who was the runner-up, and he is peaking at the right time. A chance to really disrupt that Jets run game, force Aaron Rodgers out of the pocket, which is what you want to do with Aaron Rodgers these days.
He's been gracious enough to wear a mic for us. We've played some of those clips here on Game Day Preview. He's entertaining. Man.
Oh, yeah?
He's a funny dude.
Very funny.
When he is out
I think
on
he
the
can
sideline.
sing, too.
Oh, he's got that.
What?
in there.
He's got pipes? Who knew? Maybe we'll
Add that
maybe
to
we
the
can
skill set.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kobe Turner. Meanwhile, by the way, I made reference to it at the top of the show. I love Saturday ball. How about a triple header? We got you covered exclusively on NFL Network. Chargers, Patriots, 1 Eastern. Broncos, Bengals at 4. And then we got the little nightcap. Cardinals and Rams, 8 Eastern.
Are you going to be at that game?
No, I will be outside in New England.
No!
So I'll get a dome Wednesday.
I was hoping you'd be here so that we could get you to get Kobe Turner to sing.
Get
Come on.
bundled up. Steve White, get the winter gear ready.
Boo.
What's on trap for your Detroit Lions is one heck of a Christmas.
We are all supposed to be here together, man. We're destined for this.
We like Santa Claus here.
It might be Santa, or it might be your Detroit Lions bringing the division crown back to the Motor City.
Let's go!
Lions, Bills, let's do this.
Oh, there's the Grinch. The Grinch that stole Christmas.
Allen sails into the end zone.
The injury bug has hit these guys.
Decimated.
The Grinch clearly not in any kind of giving mood.
And that will do it.
Bills come into Ford Field and beat them.
How the Grinch stole Christmas. Right here, baby.
Oh, we're not there just yet. The Lions still leading the league in scoring, almost 33 points per game, thanks to that dude, Jared Goff. But they are the walking wounded as they march into Chicago. Stacey Dales has more.
Well, the Bears have lost 8 in a row. The Lions coming off their first loss in their last 12 weeks of football. They've been decimated by injuries. 16 guys, a league high defensively, on injured reserve. David Montgomery out for the temporary time being offensively with the knee injury. What does that mean for Detroit? It means they're going to come in here to Chicago with a chip on their shoulder. Defensively, they are not overlooking the Bears. Caleb Williams mustered the 20-point comeback in the second half on Thanksgiving. They're well aware of it. They consider him a resilient quarterback. Have to disguise and want to get back to takeaways. They have just won in their last 4 games. And offensively, they've got to run the football. Ben Johnson, the OC, said uncharacteristic last week, 48 only on the ground. David Montgomery out, Jahmyr Gibbs will get a heavy workload, and they believe he's ready for it.
Well, Stacey, we will talk about that run game in just a moment here. I think about the injuries that Detroit has racked up here. They've now allowed 30-plus points in each of the last 2 games. I know it's a tough stat for you to hear. That's something that didn't happen in the first 12. I got to imagine, I know obviously you root for the Lions, that's your squad there, but on the flip side, from a Caleb Williams perspective, I'll walk into this game feeling a little different than I would have a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely. I mean, number one, I'm a Lions fan, so I have been used to being disappointed for years. So this is nothing new for me. But when I'm looking at Caleb Williams' opportunities against a defense who's missing 16 IR members, so guys watching from the sideline, not even eligible to play, this could be a really great opportunity for him to figure some things out in the passing game. I mean, we saw little flashes of it here and there, but he's had some pretty not great numbers in many of the most important metrics we've seen. And I do think, even though their number 1 pass rusher, Aiden Hutchinson, since week 6, no one's been able to top the number of pressures or sacks that he had in the 6 weeks that he played, I still think they're going to be able to figure out some things using the blitz. We've obviously seen them manufacture some pressure via the blitz, where he's going to have to say, okay, Caleb, your opportunity to look better against the blitz is today. If you can't do it today against the blitz, we're going to have some talks about like what else we need to be doing to help you out this offseason. But I think it's going to be a good opportunity for him to get some things right and maybe see the defense a little bit better.
Cynthia, I mean, we're sitting here talking over and over again, and it's a legit narrative about with the Lions, who they don't have. But let's look at who they do have, and where they
Glass
lost.
half full, Steve. I love it.
Look, but what I'm saying is the guys that they do have are pretty damn good. Okay, they lose running back David Montgomery, but let's look at this offense. They're giving up these 30-plus points, but they're also racking up points. Jahmyr Gibbs, as Stacey Dales has talked about, is someone who is very capable of being that singular type of back because of the run game and the pass game. Craig Reynolds will come in. Sione Vaki could come in.
Vaki, baby.
And as you just mentioned to me,
yep.
I mean, Jameson, the jet sweeps, the stuff on the edge, they can run the game. And then on defense, yeah, you lose Aleem McNeil on that defensive line too, but you've got on Wuzurike, you've got Zadarius Smith. Yeah. They'll do enough things to cause Caleb Williams problems today. And real quick on Caleb Williams, he has an opportunity. The opportunity doesn't rest with who the Lions don't have. It's how the Bears use him. They just mix him up. I mean, they'll go tempo. They have just done some things that have really just not let him shine. So I think that's where Caleb could be effective. But let's stop talking about necessarily who the Lions don't have and who they do have.
You know what we really need to stop talking about? Keep your grubby bear paws off of Ben Johnson until at least the end of the season. You got it? Okay, he's a Lion now. If he's a Bear next year, I wish him all the best, but not really. Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, right now, he's a Lion. Keep your grubby bear paws off of him, at least for now.
I did see Tom Pelissero's report before we got out here saying that Ben Johnson intrigued by an opportunity.
I love agents creating leverage with statements.
Build it up. Although I don't think he needs much more leverage. He's been a hot commodity now in these last few, certainly this last coaching cycle. I know we're loving up Caleb Williams, or at least talking about some opportunities that he could have in this ball game. He's not the only rookie quarterback that we get to see on the field. Time for Rookie Watch presented by New Era. Waiting on this one, Michael Penix. I saw all of his games when he was wearing that Dogs uniform up in the Pacific Northwest. The dude can absolutely sling it. What do I need to know about this first start for him?
Well, look, they're gonna redo the playbook a little bit. Kirk Cousins has not been throwing the ball very well, so they've been directing things to the middle of the field an awful lot, which has led to the interceptions. Defenses have deciphered that. So Penix, playing in his only preseason game right here, he can be going more to the outside. Plus, Cynthia, they're playing a Giants team that's terrible against the run. I expect them to run the ball a lot today, too.
Yeah, so I expect him to get rushing yards. That's a new thing for a Falcons quarterback. And I expect him to have some weird moments because he hasn't really been practicing with the ones. No. Remember that rookie quarterbacks rarely play under center, so he doesn't have a lot of it. So it's going to be shotgun, it's going to be run the football. It's going to be a little wonky, a little wonk fun, but I still think they win.
Yeah, I don't be surprised, man, if we see a couple of these deep shots.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they're going to strip those early.
It could go kind of a little wonky, too. He's a lefty, there's righty, there's some things that
they're going to script those early to let the Giants know this guy can pump it.
Yeah.
So don't be too aggressive right now.
Something tells me the Giants are well aware, considering where they were drafting a season ago, maybe in the mix for a quarterback. I think they got some notes.
You can't let it go, man.
No, man, come on.
Do not let it go.
It's okay. You'll get another.
I like last year's quarterback class better than this year's. Unfortunately, my team is the #1 pick, at least currently speaking. Oh, Joe Cool, here we go. You know, the Bengals, they have 4 losses in which they've scored at least 30 points. That's a problem. Need to get some stops. Do they get them today against the Cleveland Browns squad? The answer coming up next on Game Day Preview. Back here on Game Day Preview, DTR.
Yeah.
Let's go, the UCLA product. We've seen him in and out of the lineup since he got drafted by the Browns, getting some work. He will get the nod today against Cincinnati. But it is time for Who Scores, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's focus in on that game. Joe Burrow, the dude has been terrific this season, averaging 346 yards over his last 5 games. He's been an absolute stud. As it pertains to this game, Steve, Jerry Jeudy's a guy that you like to
Jerry
support?
Jeudy. No, I mean, he's not going to have Jameis feed it to him 14 attempts a game. I mean, but DTR, he'll scramble drills. Jerry Jeudy's been in the end zone 4 times. A legit #1 receiver, over 1,000 yards. I like Jeudy to get in with the secondary.
Oh, there's Jerry Jeudy.
Legit. He's a great route runner. Loves these crossing routes. A big part of what they do offensively. And again, he's playing a Bengals secondary that gets torched time to time.
Meanwhile, Bucks and Cowboys, also a game that's grabbed our attention. Who do you like finding the end zone?
Guess what? Mike Evans.
No way.
Yep, I
No
know.
way.
Sometimes you just got to take the easier one when it's right there. I actually think Baker Mayfield cares more about this man getting his 1,000 yards for the 11th straight season and finding the end zone even more than Mike Evans does, if it's possible.
Okay.
I love that team feeling, the camaraderie, all those things. So,
Texas boys.
and let's be fair, the Cowboys defense hasn't really been putting out much of a fight, so why not, you know? Just go with the easy one for once.
Look, this is Captain Obvious. He is so impressive out on the football field, and just every single year, a model of consistency and just an enormous playmaker, a real difference maker. Meanwhile, DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns this season, and this week, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. You can download the app and use the promo code GAME when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Dolphins, unfortunately for their fan base, on pace to miss the playoffs for the first time since 2021. That's not exactly what Calais Campbell expected at the start of the season. Join the Off the Edge podcast with Cam Jordan on the one thing he wanted most.
I'm going to chase a ring, you know, and so, like, it's kind of hard because I'm thinking, like, oh, man, you know, go to Miami, great offense. You know, we'll go out here and we'll, you know, have a shot, you know, have a realistic shot. And, you know, I don't think anybody thought the season would be like it is. You know, I mean, 6-8, you know, we still got a shot. You know, like, I think we got like 5%, 6% chance of making the playoffs, which we both know is highly unlikely. I am playing this game because I wanted to win the ring. I also want to be effective. I want to be one of the reasons why we win the ring. I don't want to just ride somebody's coattails and go get a ring. I want to be on the field making plays while we go and dominate and win the Super Bowl. And so, you know, that competitive drive is there. You know, I go through my process and take my time and see how my body feels. But, man, it's going to be hard to walk away. But it might be time. I don't know.
No, there's still gas left in the tank. Time for one big question here about a disappointing season that the Dolphins have had and the Niners. But very quickly, Ian Rappaport just putting this out there a couple minutes ago. Calais Campbell, once the Miami Dolphins are out of the playoff mix, team could release him. In fact, you and I have been talking about this for a couple weeks. There was an opportunity for him to go to Baltimore before the trade deadline. That didn't happen.
Yeah, that would be a solid move for him to join the playoff contender, like he said. And that's kind of maybe giving him some get-back opportunity because a deal was in place for him to go to the Ravens at the trade deadline. They called him in, said, we think we're going to make a playoff push, but we need you here to do that. So maybe he ends up in Baltimore. But the most disappointing season, to answer your question, Mike, that's the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh.
I mean, this was a Super Bowl team that we thought was going to be locked and loaded, and then things started to fall apart in the offseason. Long time to get contracts done with Brandon Ayuk. He gets hurt. Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. Calf injuries. It just never materialized. And take a snapshot of this now because this team will not look the same next year. They've got to pay Brock Purdy. They've got some players who got old real quick. This is the last time we see this band back together. So, yes, this is a disappointing season for the 49ers.
From two teams that had Super Bowl aspirations to two teams that, at least right now, are in the driver's seat to go and win a title. Actually, three teams when you look at the #1 seed in the AFC. Chiefs certainly in the pole position. Bills and Steelers in the mix. If KC wins one more, they'll own home field advantage throughout the postseason. Bills' path, winning, and KC losing out for them to get that #1 seed. You see the schedule there, Cynthia? You think the Bills got a chance here for the #1?
After yesterday, it's going to be very, very difficult because I think actually the biggest impact for this might actually be the Broncos because if the Chiefs are resting people in that Week 18 tilt, it could be kind of an interesting thing for the Broncos because they need to win one more at least. But ultimately, I'm looking at the Bills, and I think they're pretty much solid number 2 seed. That's where they will land. I don't have them losing another game this season, but I also don't have the Chiefs dropping enough to go under them or tie them, because obviously we know that the Bills have the head-to-head. So I think we're going to, I actually think we're just on a crash course here to another time where we see the AFC Championship game being the Chiefs and the Bills. Just saying. That's
Arrowhead.
At Arrowhead this time, because that's where it happens. And, you know, the regular season they win in Buffalo, and then they go to Arrowhead and things are different.
Ravens fans online won.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just
there
saying.
you go, Mike.
It's fair.
It's fair.
Fair.
On that. I like that.
It's fair.
Matthew Stafford. You know, I had this great stat. We were going to use it at the top of the show. I wasn't able to, but now I can.
Oh, there you go.
Touchdown passes, no picks over his last 5 games. We're not in SoCal anymore. It's cold in New Jersey right now. We'll see if he is able to handle business against the Jets. Oh, Puka Nacua.
Oh, he's feeling it.
He is.
Oh, Cynthia said he's going to be the man. He's feeling it.
It looks like if there's a guy who is the man, wouldn't you want him to look like that pregame? I think that's what we're seeing right here.
Yeah, he's vibing right now. 3rd in the NFL in both receiving yards and receptions this week.
Doing the whip and the nay-nay. Come on.
Life is good if you are Puka Nacua. Time for Start Sit. It's presented by NFL Primetime Fantasy. No one better to help us analyze our lineups than Michael F. Florio, who joins us right now.
Just Mike Florio.
Just Mike Florio. Mike, do you have a preference? I want to make sure that we're doing the name checks appropriately.
Whatever you guys want to call me is cool by me.
Weak answer.
No,
Come on,
that's
man.
something that
Come
I
on,
would
Mike.
say.
I'm setting you up here. You got to knock it down. I set you up. You knock it down.
Mike, I'm cool with, week 17. Call me whatever you want.
There we go.
All right, we are knocking on the door, almost to the point where we have our fantasy championship. So this is a critical week for the owners who are still alive in their fantasy races. Let's talk some quarterbacks here. Give me a QB that's catching your eye that you think has got the potential to find his way into a lineup.
Cooper Rush, and he is someone that I am starting in a league myself this week. I don't think he's getting enough credit for how well he's played as of late. Multiple passing touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 games. Twice in that stretch, he has been a top 10 fantasy quarterback, but even more so, The Bucs have allowed the second most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks and have allowed a QB to finish top 12 in 9 of their 14 games. That's 2/3 of their games. And then could be point chasing here. Like, I had him over CJ Stroud this week. I would play him over Brock Purdy. I think he is a sleeper that's getting overlooked a little bit.
You like that?
I do. I mean, look, I think I have a hard time in teams that don't have a lot to play for. So I try. It's just harder for me to forecast what they're going to do. And for me, that's why I like Geno Smith this week. And I understand. I love Brian Flores' defense. I told you all about it. But I told you that they're much better against the run than you might think, which means they do give up more yards in the passing game, some maybe hidden yards, if you will. But I don't think that Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to hide from them. I don't think that they're going to be in a situation where Geno Smith's not going to at least take 40 attempts, just like you said. So when you're looking at the path for fantasy gold, remember, you get punished far less for something bad happen than you do rewarded if something good happens. So the upside here, like a passing touchdown versus any sort of interception, you might as well go for it in a team with tons to play for. That's kind of how I at least figure this.
No, I'm with you there. And I think when it comes to the backfield, we spend a lot of our offseason talking about compensation and the impact that some of these guys have. And yet, every single week, Mike, as I watch a lot of these NFL games unfold, how critical these running backs are. Fantasy owners have been thriving this season with a select group of names. James Conner, to me, probably was a great value pick for a lot of fantasy owners, paying dividends right now.
Yeah, I have been pounding the table for James Conner since the summer, thinking that he could become a potential league winner, and that is exactly what is happening. Last week, he was the overall RB1 with 31 fantasy points, and I think he could build on that even further this week because the Panthers have allowed over 375 more rushing yards than any team in the NFL. That's just to running backs as well. Most rushing touchdowns, most fantasy points per game allowed to the position. Plus, Trey Benson is out this week, and we know Conner, he's going to be involved in the pass game. He's going to get plenty of groundwork. He's going to get work near the goal line. Just the absolute type of running back that you want on your roster in fantasy, and he is the best possible matchup a running back could have.
Yeah, I mean, I like that one. That one's a great pick. I think Rico Dowdle has some value for fantasy managers. I know I said I prefer teams that have something to really be playing for, but not necessarily in the run game, because if you're looking at opportunities here against the Bucs, usually we say Todd Bowles' defense, just no dice, do not run against it. That is not the case this year. In fact, they're much better in terms of bringing pressure, especially in recent weeks, than they are defending the run. We know Rico Dowdle is going to get a lot of volume in this matchup. So I think that's one of the ways where it is kind of confoundingly, the Cowboys are like, we don't want a top 10 pick. No problem. We can do without it. Totally fine. They're going to try to figure out something that will keep things, ball control on their side. Rico Dowdle's the answer for that.
Yeah, Mike, you know this. We root for a lot of the same teams. In the Big Apple right now, they have the Knicks, the Mets have Juan Soto, and if you're a Giants fan, there's 2 reasons to smile. 1, the #1 overall pick that could be coming your way, and number 2, Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors, another one of my guys all year. And look, what he is doing is insanely impressive. He is a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy this year, despite 4 different quarterbacks who range from to mediocre throwing him the ball this season. 24 fantasy points last week. That's his 7th straight game with double-digit fantasy points. His 30% target share leads the NFL, and he's had at least 8 targets in every game since week 2. Just volume that you want in fantasy, and it's a good matchup. Falcons have allowed the 4th most fantasy points per game, most touchdowns to wide receiver, and Yam, as you know, we can always count on the Giants to be in catch-up mode, so probably a little extra volume going Malik Neighbors' way.
You know it. Unfortunately, Giants fans know that story, and it's not a fun one.
Well, hey, I got something happy for you.
Okay.
If you're going to listen to anyone, you got to listen to my guy, Steve Weish. And if he tells me Jerry Jeudy's a good start, I'm going to back that up with some numbers because I actually agree. I understand new quarterback can make fantasy managers be like, what in the heck do I do here? The answer is you start him. Why? Because if you're looking at what Jerry Jeudy's done specifically on downfield passes, so these 10-plus air yard passes, he's just had the most yards since that guy Jameis started. Now, I understand it's not Jameis. However, this is still a good matchup, and the offensive coordinators, Kevin Stefanski, he knows, head coach, he knows that if you want to target the Bengals anywhere, it's downfield passes because, they're just not so good again. They're very, very generous, and they're in a Christmas-giving mood against downfield passes.
And one thing that young quarterbacks love, throw it to the middle of the field, and Jerry Jeudy is the king of crossing routes.
Yeah. By the way, did you get a little PTSD looking at that snow globe?
No, that was good.
highlight?
I was in the
Okay.
press box and that went on. So that was good.
Staying warm with the hot chocolate, ready to go. Mike, you're the best man. Always appreciate it.
Michael F.
Michael F.
No, Mike Florio. Just Mike Florio. Bye, Mike Florio.
All works by me.
Mike Florio, I'll shoot you a text later. We'll see how our Giants are faring. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts, this dude handling business in such a meaningful way, can become the 10th player in NFL history, the first quarterback to have at least 15 rushing touchdowns in back-to-back seasons. The guy's been a monster. Can they clinch against the Commanders today? All right, that guy, pretty good. Jaden Daniels. Last time I checked, just been balling. And maybe your offensive rookie of the year, maybe. Bo Nix, anyone? No?
Oh, no, I got
Okay.
Jaden Daniels.
All right, just collect
It's at least a conversation, though.
It's a conversation. It's a conversation.
Look, he balls out today. This is a guy who knows how to have a Heisman
Brock Bowers,
moment.
if Brock Bowers in a winning team, he'd be in the conversation.
Can you imagine?
That would be my pick, I think, Brock Bowers, because what he's doing with no, like, help.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that, like, it's like, hey, I'm up. Oh, like, he's like reaching, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah. Eagles Commanders. Philadelphia. Can you get it done on the road? Can you go and clinch a spot here? There's one guy in particular, speaking of giving out honors. Saquon Barkley, last time I checked, absolute machine. This potentially also a good opportunity for him to bounce back. A little bit of it was a passing week a week ago last week for this team.
Sure. And, I mean, look, like, when you look at Saquon Barkley, sometimes you have to remember the season is now long. This could be their absolute last game until the Super Bowl.
Sure.
If everything breaks how I anticipate it breaking. So what you really have to look for here is, and I think that the team actually, I know it's Philly, so there's always a lot of drama, but ultimately I think they're looking at the postseason. And I think this is a massive game for him in an opportunity here to, look really good again. Jonathan Allen, not there. Marshawn Lattimore, now there. It feels smarter to run the ball through Saquon. I can't imagine him not getting in the end zone this week.
Well, I mean, look, and they are playing December football right now. Right? Physical. You talked about last week they passed. Jalen Hurts. Is that what y'all wanted to see? But Saquon is the guy with this great offensive line. but they often get good field position because of the way their defense is.
That's right.
Right? Defense is forcing punts. They're getting the ball at probably the -40, so they're only having to go 60 yards to score touchdowns. And it really tells a tale of where things went. This time last year, we were talking about this defense being the weak link and crashing. You're seeing the pressure. Zach Bond getting one of his few sacks. He's more of a coverage guy. But at all three levels, from the line to linebackers to the secondary, which is vastly improved with Quinyon Mitchell, that's going to be the problem that the Commanders face today. But I think that's where Jaden Daniels' evasiveness could cause the Eagles, a few hiccups along the way.
This could be O'Roy versus D-Roy, because Quinyon Mitchell is very strong.
That's right.
I
do like the Eagles in this game today, though, just because of the Saquon factor and the defense factor.
And I love that you're bringing up that's an issue.
I don't even think that's good Eagles defense. That's just bad Cowboys offense. I mean, not to be picky, but
Some of these numbers, though, for Philadelphia, I mean, going through some of the research here, leading the NFL in terms of sacks since week number 6 with 33. Number 1 total, number 1 passing defense. And if heading into this season, if you would have said defensively they'd be this good against the pass after what we watched last year, I'd be like, hell no.
With two rookies, you'd be like, with two rookies?
Right.
And especially because Cooper DeJean, we didn't know when he was coming back. So with 1.5 rookies,
you wouldn't have said it. They bolstered their speed in the secondary.
That's
that was a big knock. They were slow on the back end. They bolstered their speed. Those guys up front, get to the quarterback, everything's working.
All right, so you told us, Steve, that you like the Eagles against the Commanders.
I do.
Take a look at some of Cynthia's projections
Me
here.
too, Buddy Bear.
Yeah. Two that stood out to me. One, Atlanta. You like relatively big with a rookie quarterback.
I can't believe it myself.
Yep. And I'm kind of surprised. Rams just a 1-point win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised myself. However, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, this feels like something where they're going to take advantage of the fact that the Rams secondary can get got. They can get got. And we know Aaron Rodgers, he's still Aaron Rodgers.
In terms of the late games, Minnesota getting by Seattle and on the road. Once again, flexing that they may be one of the best teams in the NFL that we don't talk nearly enough about. And Green Bay. Looking forward to seeing this team. All they do is just win in primetime games. And Jordan Love not turning the ball over either, which is nice to see over his last few starts. Sunday statement time. What do we got?
Well, listen, it's Christmas time. You got to go big. You know who hasn't seen the end zone yet? Trey McBride. You know who's going to see the end zone today? Trey McBride. Yes, I'm calling his first touchdown today. I understand they're playing the Panthers. You're like, oh, Panthers defense, great idea. You should run against them. Oh, contraire. You should also pass against them. They've given up 27 passing touchdowns. That's the most in the league. 10 to the tight end position. Guess what? Also most in the league. Yeah. So this is a great opportunity. He is due. We are in historical territory for number of receptions and yards without a touchdown. So we're going to have one today.
Okay.
Calling it right now. And this is kind of a bigger statement because it hasn't happened yet.
It is, which is sort of surprising. McBride's a monster.
Can I get 2 statements? Can that count as double weeks? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Appreciate
there you go. Look, my statement. Micah Parsons, Cooper Rush. You heard Michael F. Florio talk about Cooper Rush. They beat the Buccaneers. The Falcons beat the Giants. The Dirty Birds take over the NFC South. And then we're going to have a great finish the final 2 weeks in that division.
Yeah. Here's what I will tell you. My Sunday statements, I'm either so right or so wrong. It's gone either way. I was going to tell you about Josh Jacobs just balling out. I'll tell you what, that may or may not happen. What I can tell you is, and this is an absolute lock, and it's rare that I can say it's an absolute lock, but there is one thing without certainty that is factual, and that is our producer, Madison Sanders. Last show for her with us today. Look, Madison, we are going to miss you. By the way, you know how difficult it is when your producer doesn't know when something in the show is about to happen? Coordinating with our team before the show. Madison, you exactly.
Yes, exactly.
You are going to be missed here. That is the 100% lock of the day. But wish you nothing but the best. I mean, Steve, you've worked with Madison for a while.
It will be the best. She's dynamic, superstar. We love you. We think you're going to have a great future. We know we're going to have a great future, and you will be missed.
Look, for the people at home, you don't leave the NFL this time of year unless you're going to something great. Yes. And we have huge expectations for great opportunities ahead. You can employ all of us very soon. We'll be looking for I'll send you away with my resume if you'd like, because you're awesome.
You're going Ben Johnson. You were just on the Bears to keep their hands off of them. You're doing that.
Ian Rappaport reporting that Cynthia Freeland has some interest, or is intrigued by an opportunity
to keep working with Madison. That's how amazing she is.
We won't go there. Madison, we were trying to figure out ways to embarrass you, which, to be honest with you, this is probably the way to do it.
She's telling you to rap.
Yes. I got 13 seconds seconds left. What are we talking about? We got Game Center around the corner. Seriously, Madison, you're going to be missed. Appreciate all the hard work all season long, not only in this show, but you and I got to hang on Tuesday on Power Rankings. Take care. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games.